Hi, I'm Janis Weaver, and I'm here today with Steve Lowell, our international and public speaking mentor. And Steve, welcome. Thank you very much for coming and joining us today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
I really am interested in helping people learn how to speak and network and tell their stories, and Steve is a master at this. I've had the pleasure of being in his workshop, two-day workshop, from the page to the stage. And I go to monthly Your Stage events, and Steve is always providing lots of value and great education. So I wanted to invite Steve here today to give us some information. And the first question I had for Steve is, what is the secret to a really good pitch or soundbite when people are going out networking?
You know, there's three elements to a really good soundbite that I tell people about. And the first one is people think they need to really be different to stand out. And the truth is you don't actually have to be different. Mm-hmm. You just have to appear to be different. Okay. And so that's sort of the first principle. And this is important for people like real estate agents and financial planners and people who have this, you know, the public perception that they're all the same.
Right.
They don't actually have to be that different, but they have to appear to be different. And that's principle number one. And the second principle is they appear to be different by the language that they use. All right. And most people will use very generic language. So they'll say things like, I'm a financial planner, I'm a mortgage broker, I'm a real estate agent. And I call that process-driven language. Right. And really what they need to use is benefit-driven language. And so the words that come out of their mouth really need to be driven towards the results that they get for people. So that's principle number two, benefit-driven language. And then benefit number three, or point number three is, it's not enough that the person you're talking to understands what you do. Right. They need to be able to repeat it.
Right.
So it needs to be simple enough and visual enough so that when they walk out the door and they run into somebody that could be a prospective customer for you, they're going to see you in their mind, and they need to be able to repeat your message, not verbatim, but the gist of the message. So number one, you don't have to be different, you have to appear to be different. Right. Number two is you appear to be different by the language that you use. And number three is it's not enough that they understand you, they need to be able to repeat it.
That top of mind awareness type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. So why don't people currently use these techniques?
Well, because it's tough to get used to. You know, you can build a great soundbite or a great positioning statement, and the first 10 or 15 or 20 times that you use it, it's going to feel awkward. Right. It's going to feel mechanical, it's going to feel rehearsed, it's just not going to roll out properly, and it takes 15, 20 times for it to become part of who you are instead of part of what you say.
Because it's new.
Because it's new and it's awkward, and so most people just sort of revert back to the easy answer. That's why. Right,
and they blend in with the crowd.
Yeah.
And so what kind of results can people expect by changing and going into more of this format?
Oh, you know, at a networking event or any kind of a function where you're meeting people, a lot of people have the misunderstanding that the only target they're speaking with is the person in front of them.
Right.
And what we need to understand is that the target isn't necessarily the person in front of you, it's that person's entire circle of influence.
All right.
So I want you, when you walk out the door, I want you to remember my message, I want you to think of me when you see somebody that fits the picture that I've put in your mind. Right. So the kind of results you can get are people will be walking around not necessarily thinking about you, but they're going to be triggered when they see something based on what you've put in their mind. And I know people who have made hundreds of thousands of dollars in their business using this very technique. So the results can be astounding because there's not that many people doing it.
Right, right. It's new. Yeah. And it's time for a change, for sure. And so how would you help people prepare a new soundbite or elevator pitch, as some people call it?
Sure. I get on the phone with them or sit down with them one-on-one.
Right.
Ask them a ton of questions. I just get them chatting with me. And then I jot down some key words that I hear. And what I'm looking for are things that are visual and things that are emotional. Because that's what people carry with them. That's what they remember. And so I take what they do, and normally people are going to use big flowery words and they'll use technical jargon because they think they're trying to sell when they're talking to somebody. So I'll just take what they do and make it very conversational, make it very repeatable, and make it easy for them to say so it just naturally flows off their tongue when they're out there. So it becomes part of a conversation. And so by the time I'm finished working with somebody, they have a positioning statement that they can say every time, the same time, you know, regardless of who they're speaking with. And then when they get really good at it, they can change it on the fly depending on who they're speaking with.
Yeah, because you can get tired saying the same thing every time you get to a networking event too. So you want to be able to change it up a bit.
Sure, and you want to be able to change it up based on the person you're speaking with, whatever their interests are.
Right.
And you want to sort of tailor it to what they're saying. So when you get good at it, you can do that on the fly.
There's one thing you teach too where you say it's more of a question at the beginning. like we meet each other and I'll ask what you do, and you'll say, well, you know when, or you know how.
Yeah.
Can you demonstrate?
Yeah, that's one of many techniques, but
Right.
there's science behind that. You see, there are certain words that you can say that stop a person's brain dead in their tracks and prepares them for incoming information.
Okay.
And words like, you know how, are some of those words. Other words are, you could just say things, well, you know, I know so many people who, that is one. Okay? So an example would be, if somebody asked me what I do, I might say, well, you know how some people are just really mortified to speak in public? Okay? And you see what you did? You go, yes, that's the response I'm looking for, and I get it all the time. So what I do is I work with authors and professionals, and I help them become really comfortable on the stage so that they can comfortably get out there and promote their business.
Right.
So the you know how thing, it sort of introduces a picture in your brain that I'm going to create, and gets your head nodding up and down like one of those little bobbing dogs in the back of the window, and then you're going to start thinking of people in your life that relate to what I'm telling you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Steve. I really appreciate you sharing
my
these secrets,
privilege.
and I
It's been
highly
great.
recommend people look you up and check out some of the courses, and coming out to your stage once a month is a great
Great.
thing too.
Thank you.
So
Thank
that's
you so
Steve
much.
Lowell at stevelowell.com.
.com. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.